So we, in the middle of a study, Decide to Love is the name of the book by Anthony Ash. And remember, way back in the beginning, problems in the church so many times are often not doctrine, but they are a lack of love. And we will see this morning some of the things that entails. Christian love is a decision. It's not a feeling. We have many different definitions for love. Well, it's a decision that you make. I am going to love this person whether they like it or not, whether they make it easy or not. That's what love is. And of course, the greatest commandment is to love God first. And when we love God first, everything else falls into place. And then we're able to love others. So that's just a big thought. Now, from chapter 3, we talked about this just a minute last week. And there's two versions of misunderstood kindness. And we didn't get to talk to them a lot, but kind of keep this in your mind because we're going to come back to it. A misunderstood kindness, you may be too kind to confront. And a kindness is when a 2-year-old is running toward the street, you stop him. And he may not like it. And that is being kind. That is the thing to do. I think, the pendulum kind of swings one way and then the other way in our culture. We've got the pendulum of political correctness. Maybe it swung too far that way, and hopefully it's starting to swing back the other way. We should not be too kind to confront, but when we do confront, how do we do it? Patiently, lovingly. We speak the truth in love, the Bible says. All right? Jesus was not afraid to confront. Then the opposite of that, let me back up. The opposite of that is zero kindness, where we're just unkind. You just rude to the whole world. You might be so-so at work and then come home and be rude to your family. Somehow we think that's okay. That's just the wrong idea. It is something you do, whether you feel like it or not. Now, this chart here, I just kind of made it up. I'm going to have another one about like it in today's lesson. So today, we're going to look at the jealous heart. And so we've looked at love positive things, patient and kind. And now we're going to look at what love is not. And the word there is envious, and the other translation says jealous. Love is not jealous. And jealousy is something, we have to deal with that. It comes up in our lives. It's something that we can understand. This is not rocket science. This is something that we go through in our life. So you think when you're at the PTA and somebody gets an honor, I want an honor. I want them to call my name. What about what I did? Yeah, that's being jealous. That's not the kind of thoughts you should have. And it's hard to not have those thoughts, isn't it? They won Teacher of the Year, and here I've taught all this year, and nobody's even thanked me for it. The kids hate me, and the kids' parents hate me. Nobody's noticed. That's being jealous, all right? You do those things. You are kind, not to be noticed. I did stuff at work, and they didn't even put my name in the bulletin. Yeah, we get like that sometimes. They didn't call my name from the pulpit and tell me how wonderful I am. But this person just did one thing, and they're going on and on about it. It's hard to not have that feeling, isn't it? It's hard to get around that. And it's hard to, when you have a thought, How do you get that thought out of your head? Because the more you think that thought, the more then you get mad because you had that thought, and you're kind of a circle that just kind of churns in there, doesn't it? Yeah, I know how that works. We all have these feelings sometimes. We hear praise for something. I just want to say, well, he's a good guy and all that, but, and then we want to throw in something negative, don't we? Well, he does this and this and this. All right. Do we do that? That's jealousy right there. And sometimes we disguise it and we say, I'm not being hypercritical. This is objective analysis. Yeah, it's still the same thing. Yeah, we do that. I know. Okay, so let's think about the background of the Corinthian church. This is, of course, we're studying 1 Corinthians 13, which is called the love chapter. And if you want to open your Bibles there, we're going to be in 12 in just a minute, 1 Corinthians 12. The Corinthian church had many spiritual gifts. And just one time, your homework this next week, read chapters 12, 13, and 14, all at one time, 3 chapters. You can do this. It's all about spiritual gifts, all right? They had a problem with spiritual gifts. We always think in our mind, oh man, if we just had spiritual gifts, that would just solve all of our problems. They had spiritual gifts. It didn't solve all of their problems, okay? It's just, that's the nature of people. What do we say on the very first day? The church is perfect until what? Until you add people in there. And you add people in there, that's going to mess everything up. That's just the nature of people. Everybody, we said, has baggage. When you meet somebody, they're dragging their baggage. Of course, my baggage is normal and proper. Your baggage is a problem. And that's kind of how we think about it, isn't it? Yeah, you're doing things different. You want to change things up just for no reason at all. You're just messing things up. And I think Michael taught a lesson one time, we all want we all want the church to grow until what? Until we start changing things up, and then we don't like it anymore. I love the church growing in theory, but guess what? If the church is going to grow, it's going to have to require some change. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you have to have an extra measure of love and support. So let's talk about this word for just a minute. This is really the same word. I'm getting ahead of myself. Go to 1 Corinthians 12. And we're going to begin in verse 20. And so what was happening? Some people had some spiritual gifts, some people had other ones. They were kind of posturing with each other. This one's better. Man, this one is the best gift. And man, I don't have that gift. I've only got this gift. And, do we do that even today? Well, yeah. Well, this person here has got way more talent than I do. I can't do anything. I've talked lately with a guy, man, I can't be a preacher, an elder, or a deacon. I just as well not even bother. And I'm kind of going, what are you talking about? There is so much to do in the kingdom, right? The fields are literally white unto harvest. And it was true when Jesus said it. Guess what? It's still true today. There's so much to do in the kingdom. And we just need to look up and see that the fields are white and ready for harvest. And yeah, that's hard. But here in 1 Corinthians 12, start in verse 20. And you're going to see this rivalry here. As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, the parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And on those parts of the body that we think less honorable, we bestow the greater honor. And our unpresentable parts are treated with greater modesty, which our more presentable parts do not require. But God has so composed the body, giving greater honor to the part that lacked it, that there may be, what is it? No division in the body, that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. In the church, if somebody gets a new car, we should be happy for them. If they have a house that's better than my house, we should be happy for them. If they have a loving relationship, we should be happy for them. Here's my family, it's all busted up. Guess what? They're doing fine. We should be happy for them, not be jealous. And oh, is that hard? Yeah, I not only want what they have, I don't want them to have it. And we just go the next step sometimes, do we not? The eye doesn't become jealous of the ear. If all was seen, where would be the hearing? I wrote in my notes, the eye doesn't look down on the foot. Then I put a little smiley face. If you think, look down. Not a knee slapper. All right. I don't look at another member and say, poor me, I only have one talent, and this guy has 5 talents. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. If somebody does well, be happy for them. If somebody is suffering, we cry together. Sometimes we laugh together. Sometimes we cry together. Yeah, that's what we do. We are all part of the same body. All right. Paul says here, you are important. Every member is important. Now, this word jealousy, in the Greek, it's the same word as zealous. Zealous and jealous is the same word, but to us it has opposite meanings. Jealous is nearly always a bad thing. Zealous is nearly always a good thing. And you're already thinking of the exception. If you haven't yet, you will in a minute. What's the exception? Anybody want to shout it out? What about in the Old Testament? God is talking about himself. What word does he use? Jealous. All right. He says, my name is jealous. Wait, what? You're just thinking, wait, what? We're going to come to that. Okay, let's think about this word. So the word itself is an intense interest. And so it's like so many things. It's just neutral. An intense interest is neither positive or negative. So how do they know if it's translated jealous on one side or zealous on the other side? How do they know which English word to use? And you have to look at the context, is the bottom line. If it's used in a positive light, it's zealous. If it's used in a negative light, they translate it jealous, all right? Except for, well, most of the time, that's what they do. All right, so how can this be? And I've got my chart here. Same word, opposite meaning. So on one side of the is jealous, on the other side it's zealous. So the noun form of the verb translated zealous, Jesus, it says in John 2:17, had a zeal for the temple. He had an intense interest in the temple, so that's a good thing. There was zeal produced by godly grief, 2 Corinthians 7:11. There's zeal in financial generosity, 2 Corinthians 9:2. Paul was zealous in persecuting the church. Well, it's translated zealous, but that's a negative thing, isn't it? He's doing the bad, but it's translated zealous. All these from the noun form of the word. The verb form of the word can be translated zealous. There's an earnest search for spiritual gifts. Now, that word is going to be used in 1 Corinthians 12:31. And we're going to come back to that verse in just a minute. So just kind of put a pin in that. Twice in Acts, it's used in the negative, jealous. Several times in Paul's letter, once in James. Jealousy is condemned, Romans 13:13, 1 Corinthians 3:3, 2 Corinthians 12:20, and Galatians 5:20. So that's the negative form, well, the negative definition of the word. 1 Corinthians 13:4, which is the one we're interested in, the meaning is clearly unfavorable. Don't be jealous, all right? You wouldn't say don't be zealous because that would be a positive thing. Well, what's up with that? And if you look at it, it's in the same context. You remember that chapter division wasn't there when Paul wrote the letter. And so the rule of thumb in Bible interpretation is a word in the same context is given the same definition. So you would think that the translators would make that a negative translation in 1 Corinthians 12:31. And the one in 13, well, obviously that's negative. So you would think they would be the same, but no translation that I checked about 5 different major translations. None of them interpret it that way. Now, why is that? I'm really not sure. Just to be brutally truthful. I don't know all the answers. I know lots of questions. We'll leave that for Jeremy to answer. So you could translate 1 Corinthians 12:31, but earnestly desire the higher gifts, and I will show you a more excellent way. So you could translate it, you are now earnestly desiring the greater or showier gifts. So what was the deal? Some of these gifts, the spiritual gifts, were a little more showy. They wanted, I want to stand up and make a big deal out of me. I want people to look at me and think I'm great. And some gifts, they weren't so important. And they were jealous of the ones that were making the splash, right? And so you could translate it that way, but no translation does that. Earnestly desire the higher gifts is how it's usually translated in that way. So that's kind of interesting. All right, so there's 2 different levels, I guess you'd say, of jealousy. I want what they have, and not only that, is the second level is I don't even want them to have what they have, or I want one better than what they have. All the same thing. Intense interest is neutral. It's kind of like a hammer is a tool. You can use it in a good way or a bad way. I can use it to bonk somebody on the head. That's a negative way, in case you need somebody to tell you that. I can use it as a good way, as a tool to build something. Okay. The hammer is not the problem, and you use the same for gun control, but that's another story. It's neutral. It's the one wielding the hammer that's, either going to use it in a negative or positive way. This word is negative or positive, all right? If you use it in a negative way, it's jealous, it's bad. Well, what's this all about? It's intense interest. And so you can have intense interest in good things. We can be devoted to good things or bad things. Another word that you may have heard, ardor. That's a word we don't use very often much anymore. Eagerness, enthusiasm, fervor. You've heard those words. You might use those as synonyms. All right, back up. We're not there yet. All right, so this is a single-minded devotion to one way or the other. When you have a pure heart, and that's what Jesus admonishes. Matthew 5:8, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. They've got a pure heart. If you don't want the earth, guess what you get? You get the earth. Go figure. If I'm not jealous over people that have the earth, what do? You get the earth. It's like you get what you're really not interested in. And kind of wrap your mind around that. Matthew 6:22 and 23, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. If your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? A lot of this is what's on the inside of you. If the inside of you is pure, you're going to do things in a pure way. You're not going to have the evil light casting its reflection on everything. Evil light doesn't cast reflection. You get the idea. If the single-minded devotion is turned the wrong way, towards self, towards sensualism, toward material things, that's jealousy. That's fervent self-centeredness. Let me say that again. Fervent self-centeredness. What's in it for me? When do I get mine? That's being selfish. That's being jealous, all right? And it's hard to take that away. Now, think about Satan. Satan cannot create anything. Even in the beginning, Adam and Eve, they're in the garden. Did he create anything? No. All Satan can do is subvert good things. All he can do is skew what is pure and honorable and right. So what did he do with Eve? He just kind of, is that really what God said? He caused her to doubt. He takes good things and warps it and makes it into something evil. That's the darkness creeping in. As humans, we tend to want to go to extremes. My dad used to say, and he'd say this pretty regular, if a little bit's good, a lot's better. Did your dad say that? He would say that when he's putting gas on the wood ready to start it. Don't do that. If David Newby were here, he would say, don't do that. We called him Flash for a while for that very reason. Don't start fires with gasoline, okay? My dad did, and he would say, if a little bit's good, a lot's better. Well, is that always true? Well, it's not true for fertilizer. I know that. You can actually burn your thing you're trying to get to grow. All right. We tend to go all in one way or the other. Well, trust is good. But if you trust too much, what happens? Then somebody comes and takes advantage of that and you get swindled. And so many times it's not all one way or all the other way. I don't want all trust and I don't want zero trust. I have to be wise as a fox, Jesus says. And that's hard today because they work at trying to deceive people. All right, we trust too much sometimes. Well, self-respect is good. Loving yourself, you got to love yourself. But what happens if I love myself too much? Well, that's a problem. All right. Always you want to avoid both ditches. Stay in the middle. Yeah, I need to have a proper understanding of what love myself means. Not so much that I'm only love myself and nobody else, and not that I hurt myself because I don't love myself enough. And we have problems on both sides, do we not? All right, now, here's the exception to the rule. Our God is a jealous God. What's up with that? And we're going to keep that pure thing that we had in mind. We're going to come back to that. Exodus 20, verse 4 through 6. If you've got your Bible, you can read with me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness or anything that is in heaven above or in the earth beneath or in the water that's under the earth. You shall not bow down or serve them. I am the Lord your God, am a jealous God. I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. There in Exodus 34, he says, don't bow down to the Asherim, which is an idol. There was the Baals and the Ashtaroth. You shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous. And in your translation, that J is capitalized. That's his name. Jealous. I am a jealous God. Look at verse 15. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land when they whore after their gods and sacrifice to their gods, and you're invited. You eat of this sacrifice, and you take their daughters for your sons, and their daughters whore after their gods, and make your sons whore after their gods. That's serious business. You remember the story of Hosea and Gomer. And I think we mentioned them last week or the week before. Hosea and Gomer, Hosea was a prophet, and God said, you go marry this woman out of whoredom. And guess what? She did whorish things. And how did Hosea feel? God says, that's how I feel right there. When you worship other gods, that's how I feel. I feel so betrayed. I am devastated. And God just read the book of Hosea sometime. Jealousy is an intense devotion for the negative. But what? When you have that intense devotion, it can go one way or the other. How is it God can be jealous? You remember that God wants us to be pure? God is 100% pure. 0% impure, all right? When he has that intense devotion, how does he feel? He feels deeply when we go against what he wants and worship our own God, our own self. How does God feel?
You applied in the past the principle of the marital relationship to the word jealousy, and I often have the memory of the program's definition of God's pure jealousy in my mind. He has right of ownership. So in that sense, he owns us by creation and wants to have us in a relationship with him.
Good. So there, redeemed is he made us and he bought us back. That's what the word redeemed, to buy back. So we are twice his. He owns us from creation, and he owns us because he paid for us on the cross. All right. One author, or the author in the book, Brother Ash, jealousy is an intense devotion. Now listen to this sentence, and I want you to see what you think about it. God, by his very nature, is intensely devoted to himself from all eternity. So we're going to come back to that. I think I got a slide right there. God, by his very nature, is intensely devoted to himself from all eternity. Chew on that. See what you think about it. We're going to come back to it. This sounds strange, and this is from the book, because we are speaking of God as if he were human. But if God eternally exists, and he is the creator and sustainer of all, then nothing else is really possible. God's jealousy is not the peevish, anxious, irritable, capricious thing that human jealousy is. God's jealousy means God calls man to turn his life toward God. This is what men need. It's their ultimate good. Nowhere else can we find real love, happiness, or peace. Nowhere else can we find life. God's jealousy produces man's blessings. If you are jealous of me and your jealousy is put into action, I will likely be hurt. But listen, divine jealousy is just the opposite. It is the source of all good we need and all that we want. God can only will our good. He will never hurt us by his jealousy. He calls for us to be wholly dedicated to him as he is to himself. If he were not dedicated to himself, to what would he be dedicated? And so it takes you a minute to wrap your brain around this. This is something I really had to kind of chew on for a while. Think about before Genesis 1:1. What was there? There wasn't even nothing. There was before nothing, right? There wasn't even empty space. There was no space. Before, in the beginning, what was there? There was only God. Now think about this. Could there have been love before Genesis 1:1? Before Genesis 1:1, could there have been love? Does love have to have an object? Who did God love? Well, the Father loved the Son loved the Holy Spirit loved the Father. They all loved each other. There's your intense devotion. Now think about this from a 100% pure standpoint. Think about it. There's the making and the redeeming, the buying back. No doubt. He bought us again. The story, my teacher told a story. The little boy made a boat. The boy got lost. He sees the boat in the store and he buys it. He says, "You are twice mine." That's what God did for us. He made us and then he bought us. And so this intense devotion, he is intensely devoted to himself from all eternity. And you got to kind of wrap your brain around that. I just had to chew on that for a while. Yeah.
When you think about what his intensely devotion is to, when you look at himself, God is what? Pure. Love. All those things. So if he is intensely devoted to himself, that's a good thing for all of us.
It is, no doubt. And it's hard for us to understand that because we always see these things just a little bit tainted, do we not? Oh, well, he's pure, but what about this and this? Zero taint there, 100% pure. And it's really hard to fathom that, is it not? All right. Anyway, chew on that, see what you come up with. It's just an interesting thing. Men's jealousy, yeah, I can understand that. I see that every day, and I see it in me. All right? We see this every day. Now we're focusing on the negative aspects of jealousy. Yeah, I can get that part. Man's jealousy shows up in two ways. I want one better. And not only that, I don't want them to have this at all. And yeah, that's kind of what we do sometimes. They get a new car, I want a bigger car, a better car, a house, whatever. We want them to have as little, and they were being jealous in Corinth. Oh, they had this gift here that was way more showy. All I've got is this puny little gift. And do we not do that even with our talents? I don't have the talent to do this or this and this. I'm just going to take my talent and go home. I'll just take my ball and go home if you don't play by my rules. Did you do that when you were a kid? Jealousy takes on it's more subtle sometimes when it's in me. I can see that speck in your eye, but I overlook the log that's in my eye. Yeah, it's hard to see our own problems, isn't it? Even when somebody's standing there pointing out, well, you got a log in your eye. What are you talking about? Well, sometimes we still don't see it. No, or we want to ignore it. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that speck in your eye. And if you got something in your eye, you're sure not able to help somebody else get something out of their eye. Get that log out first. Get yourself right first. And again, there's that balance thing. You're never going to be 100% with nothing in your eye, but you do need to help other people. So it's a balance, right? Our jealousy is more subtle these days. I like to have a little fun sometimes. The opposite of subtle is subtle. That's just a little game I play sometimes. So if I'm being subtle, that means I'm being very blunt. And it looks like subtle, but you pronounce it subtle. All right. Our jealousy is difficult to recognize in ourselves. Sometimes we're overly focused on ourselves. We reveal our jealousy by bad-mouthing them, trying to minimize their accomplishments. Jealousy builds ourselves up. Jealousy puts others down. All right, subtle, not immediately obvious. It's an intense devotion to self. And yeah, I'm interested in me. I like to feed me every day, take good care of me. There should be a balance there. Sometimes I may have to inconvenience me to help somebody else, to do things for somebody else. Oh, that's my supper time. You can't interfere with my supper time. It's inconvenient for me. Yeah. All right, look in James 3. You're going to see devilish wisdom. You've never heard that phrase. Devilish wisdom. James 3, beginning verse 14. Devilish wisdom is characterized by jealousy and selfish ambition. The result is disorder and every vile practice. James 3, beginning verse 14. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual. There's our word, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. If we are going to grow, we cannot be jealous. They're doing more than me. There's more going on there than I have going on here. We cannot be jealous. It's not a competition. Jealousy is the cause of wars and fighting. James 4, 1 and 2. What causes quarrels? What causes fights among you? Is this not your passions at war within you? You desire, you do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You do not ask, and you do Or you ask and you do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions. Where's this coming from? If you have a pure heart, you can ask for things and get them, he's saying. But what? You're asking for stuff, you want to use it on yourself, on your own passions. He says, you're asking wrong. You're praying wrong. This is demonic to do this for yourself. All right, what's the answer? Well, we've got 1 minute. No problem. I haven't heard any bells. Has there been a bell? Are the bells broken? Good. First, recognize everything that anyone has is a gift of God. There it is. Their possessions, their abilities, their any praise they get, that's from God. Anything good that they have, that's a gift from God. Whether they're using it in the way that they should, that may be another thing. Second, we need to remind ourselves that we have all really, boy, it's hard to say. I need more coffee. All we really need is Christ. Bottom line, if you have Jesus Christ, you have everything you need. Well, it'd be nice if I had something for supper. Well, there's that balance again. Yeah. Psalm 73:21. When my soul was embittered, when I was pricked in the heart, I was brutish and ignorant. I was a beast toward you. Nevertheless, I am continually with you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel. And afterward, you will receive me to glory. With whom have I in heaven but you? Look what he says in verse 25. And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh, my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart, my portion forever. The only thing the writer says that I really want in this world is you. And he's talking to God. And it's hard to get to that point, isn't it? And this is the key. I even put a little key in your notes. Did you notice that? How cute, huh? We are called to give our lives for others. The more that I give and love as the Lord did, the more I am free of the mentality which produces jealousy. Listen to this. Generous service is the answer to jealousy. It is the spirit that is the opposite. Generous service drives out jealousy. The way to overcome jealousy is through service. You want to get rid of this. You want harmony. You want peace. The answer is in service. Look at Jesus' life. How do you sum up Jesus' life? It does that for us in Acts. He went about doing good. Wow. He went about doing good. That's the answer to jealousy. That's the answer to problems in the church. That's the answer to problems in my family. Put away jealousy. Add service. It sounds real simple, doesn't it? I can continue to be jealous. I can continue to kick myself for my failures, or I can pray about this. I can do something about this. Jealousy is putting too much emphasis on me. It is putting self on the throne. Love is not jealous. Two examples before we close. The example of Jonathan and there it is. There it is. We've hit all that. There. All we need is Christ. Much has been given to us. Two examples. You remember David and Jonathan. Jonathan was going to be the heir. And David was named king. He was anointed by God. But their love for one another drove out jealousy on the part of Jonathan. And even though he didn't get the throne, he didn't even get to live. He was not jealous. He was not bitter. And love threw that away. Then finally, Eleazar, who was the servant of Abraham, his love for Abraham and Isaac never wavered. Even though Eleazar was going to be the apparent heir, he was not the child of God, or the child of Abraham. He was not the chosen one. He loved Abraham so much, he went and found Isaac a bride. Go read those two stories. You'll be glad you did. There is the opposite of jealousy in those two stories. Next week, Lord willing, we will look at, I can't even read my own writing. The bragger's appetite. Love does not brag, does not vaunt itself up in the old King James. Lord willing, we will look at that next week. Thank you, guys.